Okay, guys, let's get started here. If everybody could grab their seats, and if you are on our panel, can you start, as we're doing this and doing the intro, feel free to grab your spot. I know we have one panelist that was still on her way, but feel free to grab your spot as we get going. My name's Ted. I run the Omaha RIA with my wife Jessica at the front door. Big shout out to Denlis over here. This is Denlis Bertrander with DV Video. He's our video and sound guy.
Sounds bad.
Sounds bad? Oh man. Is that better? We had so many mics up here, I got to use a lapel mic because this is a first. So, I mentioned it earlier. We have a resource table on the far right side there. There is a green book in there. It's called the 30-Day Stay, and it was Sarah Weaver. It's her new book that just came out this weekend. She was on her podcast like 4 or 5 months ago on RIA Radio. But we are going to give it away. It is actually signed by the authors, and the book hasn't been officially released like on Amazon yet. It's just at BP. So you feel free to put a card in there or a name with an email address. We'll draw that at the end of the event and give that away. Okay, so again, there's a book in the far corner over there. You guys can put a card in there. We'll give it away. It's about short-term rentals. Sarah Weaver wrote it. It's not released yet. But it is available for us. I picked up at Bigger Pockets Conference this weekend. Because of the Bigger Pockets Conference this weekend, that's why we're on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday. But yes, it will keep on doing Tuesdays in the future. So a couple fun things about that. Denlis, myself, Owen Dashner, we all went down to the conference. We had the goal of doing some interviews. So I think we did somewhere between 20 and 25 little 5-minute interviews. We interviewed Brian Murray. Give me some names that we did. Alex Camacho. There's one guy we interviewed. He had $4 billion in real estate development going on in Hawaii. Brian Murray's got 7,800 units around the country. So we had a huge panel. It was really fun. Or a huge group of people we interviewed. We're going to release those on podcast. We also we had the privilege, due to Megan Ahern out of Lincoln, she's personal friends with Brandon Turner with Bigger Pockets, so we actually did an hour-and-a-half interview with him over in his Airbnb, and we'll have the video and podcast of that coming out next Wednesday. So if you're an avid podcast listener, we apologize that the current one hasn't been out yet. It's partly because we've been in Bigger Pockets and we didn't get it produced. Dennis, will that be out by tomorrow? Yep, okay. So on that podcast, we had Ron Kendall. Really fun story. Definitely recommend checking it out. And then again, Brandon Turner will be next week, episode 61. One thing I always like to tell you, there's a lot of newbies in the room. I know you want to hear about the Dream Investing team, or the Dream team that we have back here. But if you're not familiar with what the RIA is, this is a networking group. It's a socializing group because we do a lot of drinking and hanging out after the events. This is a way to find deals. I've heard numerous times that people have gotten deals at the table. It's also a great opportunity to find investment real estate agents. We have a huge amount of investor real estate agents in the room. We provide education. I do not bring people up here to solicit you. I don't want to have a RIA group that has somebody up here promoting to join their mastermind to charge you $40,000. So everybody that comes up here and speaks and talks is something I personally believe in or am a part of. So that's not my goal. That's not the point of this RIA, is to get somebody in your back pocket. With your membership, there's over 17 major companies that provide you discounts on the national scale. There's a few as examples there, like Home Depot Pro, REIA, Sure, Millennial Specialty Insurance, Rent Perfect, REI Pro, and a whole bunch more. You can find those on our omaharia.com page. And then we have over 20 local sponsors. So examples would be like Albers Flooring, DB Video, Franco Zachariah, DVG, Realty Group, KW Elite, Liquid Lending, Orange Property Management, Solid Roofing, ASAP Plumbing, Daily Record, Midwest Title, Pillar and Post, Premier Claims, Redbox, Undercover Kitchen, Coley Justin, Blackstone Insurance, JM Capital, James Reed at American Express, Bricktown Management, Rochelle Eigsti at Charter West, Lynch Management, Landscaping, Stone Printing, Trustworthy Title, and Midwest Removal. If they can legally give it, they give you discounts. So your $100 membership can be wiped out with one purchase, plus it's all write-offable, right? So big round of applause to our sponsors. We really couldn't do this without you guys, so thank you guys. I know a lot of our sponsors are up here too. Huge thank you to the staff here at Holiday Inn. We appreciate you guys. They do a lot for us. We were in a bind a few months ago where the venue we were temporarily at just didn't have the ability to take care of us due to staffing and other issues. Holiday Inn stepped right up, took care of us, and literally got us taken care of in a matter of a week when there was like no air conditioning at the other place and everything. So it was super, super awesome of them. Plus they give you the food discount, so 25% off your meal tonight if you show your card. And then they do room discounts also if you have a little too much fun tonight and you can't drive. Don't drive drunk. Tonight's event sponsor is Albers Flooring. That is Johnny Albers right here. He'll say a few words when we go around the panel. Our drink sponsor is DVG Realty Group at KW Elite, and they're going to buy the first $100 bar tab over the Burger Theory. So round of applause to Burger Theory. Where's Jerry? One thing I have in my hands, I want to show it to you guys. So this right here, do you guys get these mailed to you? A lot of you guys should. So I don't, but they mail them to everybody else. So what this is the Real Estate Investment Journal, and this is by National RIA. They do 4 of these a year, and for the second time, we had a member spotlighted. And so Ryan Basie, which is a local realtor, he was on our podcast. They heard the podcast, heard about all of his giving back that he's doing, and they did a huge 2-page article on him. And if you see this picture, and in here, one of them, and you see Owen Dashner, he thinks that he's got really bad double chins. So, as in the studio there. So make sure if you see this and you see Owen, to give him a really hard time. But it's super cool that we got our name in there for the podcast and for the RIA. So they're free. I got a box of 100 of them, but they're over on that table too. Please take them, because then it means that I got to lug these around next month if you guys don't. So they're for you guys. We have a couple upcoming events. If you saw the flyers on their table, we have 2 things going on. We have 3 things. We have the Omaha RIA Luncheon. We do that on the 3rd Friday of every month, unless it falls on a holiday. And so that's be on the 21st. It's 11:30 to 1. Meet, mingle, talk about your successes. This is free to attend. You can bring whoever you want. The room fits 50 people. 50 people is tight, just so you know. But they do have a private room in the back with a couple screens. You guys buy your own food. Everybody gets a chance to talk. So what successes have you had in the last 30 days? What business do you want to promote? What's going on in your business world? That's what it's all about. We don't bring in a speaker. All I do is get up here and tell you what events are coming up and then give you my own highs for the month. But it's all about you guys, and then getting to know people, because sometimes it can be intimidating coming to this big room and not knowing who to sit with or talk to. So just definitely recommend checking it out. Come a little early and get your food order in as a recommendation if you do got to get going fast. On 10/21 also, the same day at 4 o'clock, all members can take part of, there's a National RIA Zoom meeting. And if you go to omaharia.com, we have a calendar, and you can get on the link there, and they'll add it to your event calendar. But it's free for you guys. It's an hour-and-a-half meeting. The national sponsors come speak. They tell you about legislation issues that are going on. Your money goes towards fighting for your rights as an investor, and that's a lot of things they cover. We had Charles Tassel come in here. What was that? About 6 months ago. And he's the one that oversees all that side of the legislation, and he's usually one of the main speakers during the event. So definitely, if you get a chance, jump onto it and go from there. Unfortunately, I'm always podcasting right at that time because that's the RIA Luncheon Day, so that makes it really tough. But they put it on YouTube, and I try to post those afterwards. Next month, we have Jeff Beals come to speak. Jeff's the only speaker I invite back every year. Jeff runs Grow Omaha. It's an 18-year radio show, and it's all about commercial real estate and all the developments happening in the city and metro area. He's extremely knowledgeable. He speaks worldwide as for major corporations. He is the vice president, NPDOJ, I hope I didn't butcher that, But he is just a wealth of knowledge. So if you want to know about new construction, things happening, the rail car system, I mean, he's got the answers. And he's a super, super nice guy. We have some collaboration night things that we're going to work together here soon, too. So I'd like to be able to announce that here in a couple months. And then December 6th, we got Wyatt Simon. Wyatt's added a couple hundred properties to his portfolio just in the last 18 months. He's going to talk about the coaching that he went through to get there. And so we're calling this one, How to Use Real Estate to Finance Your Freedom. Really impressive young man. He's still in his 20s and blowing 99% of everybody out of the water. And so he's going to give his tips and tricks and let us know what he's got going on. So super, super appreciative. We have a big panel here today, so you want to know what's going on here. This is how we're going to work it. We're going to let everybody have a few minutes to introduce themselves and their business. What this is the panel of people I use in my business. So I reach out to these people. They work in my properties or their business partners. This is the hardest thing to do, especially when you get started, is figure out who your team is, right? Who am I going to call for concrete? Who's going to do this, and this? Well, I know this isn't everybody, but this is a huge portion of it. I didn't want to have like a 20-person panel. You guys have really thought I was crazy. But these are really important people to me. I think that they're going to be able to influence you and help you at least get started. You need to have a starting ground. This is a place to be. They have the resources and the sponsors, if they can legally, also provide you discounts. So we're going to let everybody talk. We have a couple mics here, so we'll pass them throughout. Just so you guys know, there's a little gray button, and the green light goes on, so you know when to speak. And then once we get through and have everybody introduce themselves, we're going to do a Q&A session, and we'll let you guys all ask your questions. We have 2 mics in the middle. For some reason, if you can't get up and you need me to bring a mic to you, let me know, and we'll go from there. But we'll start off with Alex with A1 Concrete. You got a mic there?
Hello? Okay. Yeah, my name's Alex Tavizon. I'm with A1 Construction, and we specialize in all concrete work.
Hey guys, my name is John Albers. I own Albers Flooring. I'm a gold sponsor here with Omaha RIA, and offer 10% discount to all the RIA members and free estimates, of course. One thing I have wanted to extend to you guys is, for those of you who have multiple properties, which I know a lot of you do, and they all have floors, if you can bring me more than one house or floor that needs done at a time, I will give you a higher discount. So we can go from 10 to 15, even as high as 20% would be my max. But for those who have multiple properties, I would like to do some grouping with you guys and add added value. I've been running Albers Flooring for about 3 years. It started as a side hobby, and I was doing it for fun. Well, the hobby kind of grew into something that I really enjoyed, and I was like, I can make some decent money out of this, and I can serve the real estate community, which is something I was leading into anyway. I always wanted to be in real estate, either in housing, investment. At even one point, I wanted to have a license to do selling, and with the market the way it was, I thought, you know what, if I can use my business to help you guys, why not do that? So that's a little bit myself and about my business, and I'm going to pass it off to Marty.
Evening. Hello, I'm Marty McGuire with Blackstone Insurance Group. I'm a 20-year veteran of the insurance and financial services industry here in Omaha. Grew up in Colorado, moved here at 11, went to Westside High School, studied music and business at Loyola in New Orleans. I took some notes today. I don't usually talk about myself, so I had to write some notes down. I love playing rugby. I swim, still play music, and came back to Omaha after graduating. Started out in the financial services industry with a company called Northwestern Mutual. Struggled. At the time, most of my clientele, my natural market, were all young people and didn't really care about buying things like life insurance and disability insurance and investing in the stock market outside of a 401k plan. So I stuck it out, though. I'm kind of stubborn, and I learned a lot over a 10-year period, and things I still enjoy teaching clients today. About 10 years ago, though, I jumped over to the property side of the insurance industry and joined a company called Farm Bureau. I'm sure a few of you have heard Farm Bureau before. It's 5 years that I was there, I went through 5 agency managers, 5 regional managers, double-digit rate increases each year that I was there. But I learned a lot about the property side of the industry, and one of the things I learned is that only having one option for your clients is not good. I like being a good resource to people. I like helping people. I hate being taken advantage of, and so I like to make sure that I help clients do the same thing, not being taken advantage of. So for 5 years now, I've been independent with Blackstone Insurance Group, and I've positioned myself to have access to pretty much everything myself and my clients need. And I'm succeeding, having fun, building a successful business, and building cash flow, and looking forward to investing and partnering with real estate investors on projects or investing in their funds in the years to come. I love what I do, but I recognize the power of owning real estate and having worked with so many investors. I now specialize in working with real estate investors on the insurance side of things, and and contractors as well. So 1 to 4 unit properties and apartments, whether it's a rehab flip, whether it's a buy and hold, short-term rentals, if it's a full bore ground up construction project. I also handle most of my clients' personal stuff as well. I do it because I love it. I actually enjoy insurance. I know it's kind of weird. But like I said, I enjoy taking care of people, and it just makes me happy. And I love to meet with any of you who are interested in hearing how my staff and I just get you the best value that we can for your insurance dollars. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. I don't have any notes. My name is Rochelle Eigsti, and I'm with Charter West Mortgage, a lender with a servant's heart. I handle everything from owner-occupied to 1 to 4 family investment properties. But I also, in the current rate environment that we're in today, I love just sitting down and going through projects and homes with individuals to find out what is the best financial solution for you. And kind of plan that out. Because if you don't go forward and look at those things ahead of time and just jump in and say, everything's got a top and everything's got a bottom, and I'm sure this is all going to work out. You really do need to plan through your solutions on financing, down payment, in the homes and rentals that you're going to purchase. So I love sitting down and going with that. I like doing the face-to-face and finding out what your true goals and objectives are. So I have been in the mortgage and finance industry for 35 years. And I usually do not come dressed like this, but I was in Gretna, Nebraska, 5 to 3 minutes before 7 and jumped in my car and ran here because I forgot that I was on the panel. So. That's just a little bit of, honesty. So, but I made it here in 10 minutes, so that was pretty good. Thank God for the interstate, and it wasn't packed like the time when you guys were coming down here. So, anyways, that's why Marty does not insure my car, because I probably get pulled over a lot. So anyways, but I don't have any tickets. So, I really encourage each one of you to get to know the people around your table and in this room and learn from those around you. There's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing, and they're here to find out what they want to do. But it comes with communication and relationships, and I would love to be in that relationship with you as well. And if I can't do the financing that makes sense for you because of where interest rates are, I will help you find the best solution and get that accomplished for you. So, Rochelle Eigsti with Charter West Mortgage. and I'm here for you.
Hi, my name is Brooke Johnson, and I'm with Frog Renovations. My husband and I, Jeff there, we started up Fat Frog just this year. We've been in business for about 6 months. A couple months into it, we realized that we wanted to bring along some folks that we had worked with in the past. So we brought on Luke. Luke is here. And Mark as well. Mark's not here, unfortunately, but those are our partners, Mark and Luke. And we do remodeling, renovations. A lot of our experience, combined on our Fat Frog team, we've got about 60 years of experience in renovating, property management and real estate. And about 30 of that is specific to property management. So when we decided that this was going to be our new endeavor in life, we decided that property management was really where our skills and talents lie, and so it was a really good coupling with renovations. This team of ours at Fat Frog, they've turned over 1,000 or more apartments in the last 10 years, and of varying classes of properties, and have seen some really crazy stuff. And I guarantee you that all of that crazy stuff was resolved in a quality repair with a very good quality craftsmanship. So the experience that Fat Frog brings to this group in particular, being investors, is, I think, something that you're not going to find with other companies. So I do kind of like to brag about us in that way, because we are very unique. So something about Fat Frog that makes us special is our culture. We are huge about learning, about constantly evolving as a company, improving our efficiency and our systems and our processes. And our clients and our customers absolutely get that. It's a different experience working with Fat Frog than working with any other contractor in town. I can be confident in saying that. Our bids are incredibly thorough. We do inspections of all of the properties before and after we're done with our work. And we'll actually probably communicate with you more than you want to hear from us, unfortunately. Sometimes it turns out that way. But in the end, trust me, it's all for the good. Because we want you to be 100% aware of everything when it comes to your property. So we're very, very well rounded, for lack of a better word, in the presentation of our information and communication with our clients and tenants and the folks that we work for. So I guess that's what I've got. So I'm going to pass the mic.
Hi, Andy Kozycz with JM Real Estate Capital, and I'm from Omaha. I lived in Omaha the last 13 years. And I actually started in real estate rehabbing and all that good stuff back in 2012. And then we had some rental properties that we currently still have here in Omaha. And in 2021, we moved to St. Pete, Florida. In St. Pete, Florida, I ran into JM Real Estate Capital, the lender. And I'll tell you what, I've had a blast doing it. I love helping people get what they want to get. A lot of people don't have the money that they need to have, and it's kind of an education thing also to show them how to do it. I've got a background, obviously, with rehabbing, so I understand what people go through as they're trying to buy their properties. So what JM does is they're a 1 to 4, so 1 to 4 units. They'll do new construction. They will do rehabs, obviously. And we have a product that's a 30-year fixed rate loan that we don't require we don't care about your income. I know it sounds like 2008, but that's not the case, okay? Because we also ask for reserves, okay? We make sure you have reserves and all that stuff. And I won't go into a lot of details here. Obviously, we can talk one-on-one for sure, but I'll answer some questions about anything that you guys might have. But certainly, that's a great product that we have. And everybody thinks that interest rates they're not yet at 12%, but they're headed there. And with another increase, who knows where they're going to end up. But right now, our rates are really competitive for 30-year rates. They really are. I just had one yesterday somebody's looking at. It's awesome. So the rates compared to the rates are awesome compared to the consumer rates right now for investors. You got to buy the right deal, and I'm in agreement with Rochelle. They've got to look at it, make sure they're not making a mistake, and go with that. Anyway, my number, or you can get me at St. Pete, which is 727-390-7560, and I do come up here for the meeting every month. I fly, I don't drive. So anyway.
Hi, my name is Misty, and I am a workaholic. I did take some notes because, unlike Marty, I didn't have a lot to say, but I have a goldfish brain, so I'm going to refer to those. I am a native of the Sandhills of Nebraska, but have lived here in Omaha for about 18 months now. I am married to my best friend, Garrett, and together we have 3 kids. My business is MS Creative Interiors, which is why I'm on this panel tonight, but you might also recognize me as being a part of the DVG Realty Group at KW Elite Real Estate Team. I am the operations manager there, in addition to the executive assistant for Jerry Schlickburn. And so, and that is why I'm a workaholic, because I love my boss. But for MS Creative Interiors, I offer full staging services and occupied staging consultations. I do construction and remodeling design and paint color consultations, or product sourcing, material selection, room layout, cabinetry design, kitchen design, bathroom design. I also, my team and I, because I can't do it by myself, provide guest-ready furnishings for short and mid-term furnished rentals. And so like an Airbnb or a furnished finder for our traveling nurses here in Omaha. And over the past year, I've been doing that. I have designed over 17 short and midterm furnished rentals for people like people that you probably recognize in this community: Jose Pena, Jim Endebrock, Ryan and Jara Boehm, Mike and Jerry Schlickburn, and Ted Kosh. So that count does include the Offutt Manor, which is a 9-suite boutique hotel located next door to the Jocelyn Castle in Midtown. There I designed and fully remodeled the main kitchen on the first floor, in addition to providing period-specific furniture with modern comforts for the suites and common areas. So it does sound like I do a lot, which I do, but that's why I'm a workaholic, and I don't mind. The design aspect of my business is all side hustle. I do work 9 to 5, but because my boss is amazing, she does allow me to have the time I need to work on my side business. I have always had a passion for design, and I've been doing it off and on for the past 15 years. But being here in Omaha and being connected to all of you through the RIA, through TED, has given me the opportunity to continue to do that. And I'm very grateful for those opportunities, and I'm full steam ahead, so I'm not looking to slow down anytime soon. So there's lots of opportunity for me to work with you. I'm pretty flexible, and again, just super happy to be here. So thanks for asking me to be here, Ted.
My name is Austin Compton. Many of you know me. I work at Orange Property Management, and we manage all kinds of real estate, from commercial to single family to multifamily. And we kind of do anything and everything real estate related. Misty, since she joined she's kind of our circle of companies that work with us. My life has gotten a lot easier since she joined us, so thank you for that. She is a workaholic. She's not lying. But we do pretty much anything and everything real estate in a way that you can make money off of it. So like leasing, renting. We have one commercial space where I run a escape and smash room down in Bellevue. So if you have any questions about property management, I've pretty much seen it all, seen the worst, seen the best. There's great tenants, there's bad tenants, and there's downright awful, terrible people out there. I can help you navigate how to deal with each and every one of them.
I'm Mike Schlickburn, owner of Solid Roofing and Exteriors. And like Ted, I work with a lot of these people on the panel as well, and it's an awesome panel we have put together here tonight. And I appreciate every one of these people. And like Ted had mentioned, growing a team is one thing that I like doing as well, having a team. I've been in real estate for 20-some years. A little background on me, I grew up in the construction industry. My dad's a general contractor, so I've grown up in the trade all my life. Hence, I started a roofing company. With our roofing company, the services we can help you with is any insurance claims. You know, we had a hailstorm come through in June 7th, and we have hail maps on the areas of town that it hit. So if you want us to inspect any of your properties, we're here for you to take care of any of your exterior needs. Let's see, we really do specialize in working with insurance claims as well. So, I mean, it's a tough business to navigate through, and we have experienced people on staff that can help you through that. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions for you guys later on as well. Thanks.
Hi, guys. Al Nelson, Trustworthy Title and Escrow. The title guy. The guy that helps you fix all your real estate problems and get you to the finish line of purchasing the real estate. I've been in the industry since 2001, worked for a lot of different companies in town, spent 10 years at a company called Nebraska Land Title and Abstract, which was the big title company in town for a number of years, and did a lot of residential, commercial real estate, land. I was the guy that did a lot of the out county, what we referred to as out county, which was anything except Douglas and Sarpy. Did a lot of Douglas and Sarpy as well. Also was known as the Iowa title guy. So I still do title insurance in Iowa. Started Trustworthy Title back in 2017 with my wife. We got my two kids working part-time with me. And so we're a true family operation right now. And so bring on the questions, bring on the problems. I love to solve them. Thank you.
Well, I'll start off with the first question. Since you have it in your hand, we'll go with you, Al. We were talking on the podcast, and we specifically were talking about title insurance a couple months ago. And then we got talking, and we said, well, has anybody ever actually used their title insurance? So the conclusion and people on the table, and Owen was one that was no. But what's the importance of having title insurance, and what's your thoughts behind it?
Yeah, okay, so why would you want to use title insurance? Title insurance is protecting your property rights in that property against anybody else coming in and make a claim on that property. That could be a lien holder, it could be a relative of a deceased person. So we want to take the proper steps. We search the public records. We see what liens are out there. We make the requirements. You have to pay off this loan. You have to, the owner is deceased. You have to go through a probate. You have to go through a probate because a personal representative has to be appointed to represent the estate, so that then they have the authority to deed the property. So it's those kind of legal things. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'm a licensed title examiner. We have title standards that we go by, and if there's any legal situations that come up, then we involve an attorney in those, like the probates.
And then if you guys have questions, just stand up to the mics. If you don't, I will keep on asking them.
Do you recommend basic or expanded title?
Good question. So I generally recommend expanded. Now, not everybody's going to qualify for expanded. LLCs, corporations don't qualify for expanded. If you're an individual purchasing the real estate, you can qualify for that. So how is expanded different than basic? Basic and expanded both protect you from, again, the claims on the real estate. Expanded goes above and beyond. It will protect you, especially in your investments. If somebody did work on a property, didn't pull a permit, expanded can cover you on those issues. Also, it can cover you in short on if you're in a covenanted neighborhood, somebody painted the house the wrong color, the expanded policy is going to cover that after the issue. The HOA will come back and say, hey, you got the wrong color on that house, you're going to have to repaint it. Do you want to pay for that yourself? Probably not. So some things to think about. Again, you can email me at al@trustworthytitle.com. I'll send you a comparison chart on the expanded and basic policies. Okay.
Yeah, so I have a real estate investor friend in Florida. He wants to put some capital to work here in Omaha. And like most investors, he wants high return in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of risk. So from your guys' different perspectives, what's the best investment opportunity you're seeing in Omaha? Or maybe you can share a home run story of one of your clients.
Well, if you guys have a specific answer?
Well, everybody wants, the quickest return possible. But I would say the up-and-coming neighborhoods, especially around Midtown and downtown areas, there's a lot of development going on there. So naturally, you're going to get appreciation over time. And then if you're looking for a better like cash on cash or something like that, rents are continuing to go up. But so kind of a success story. We have a client. He was out of California, but now he's moved to Tennessee, and I'm a little jealous of him because we've been absolutely killing it for him. And Ted works with him as well. But his last two that he purchased a duplex for a really good price with really low rents based on the area it was in, and a lot of the economic development that's been happening in Midtown and the Med Center expansion has pushed out the demand and increased rent in those areas. So he got this house or this duplex, I believe, for what was it, like $160, something like that. And each one was vacant, needed a little bit of rehab, and the other side was paying $500. Within 2 months, we renovated one side, rented it within 2 days for $1,500, and then the other side we were going to non-renew, but then we came to an agreement with the tenant to do a couple smaller updates, and we bumped her up to $1,300. So that place, we call it the duplex that just keeps on giving. He also received a plot of land next to it with the sale, so if he ever wanted to build something there, he could do it. And now we have another one that he just found, which I'm still throwing a little shade at Ted for not coming to me with it. But he just got a triplex for about $180K. 2 of them are vacant. A small studio on the bottom is rented, and we'll probably get the total gross rents. It's about $3,500. So pretty good return for him. So looking for the right deal in a decent neighborhood. And I'll kind of also say for your out-of-state investor, don't force something to happen. He sent me about 10 other properties that we've looked at, and I was like, probably not. And then the right one pops up, and he jumps on it. He's ready to go right away, can close in a matter of days, and then which will help him get the winning offer. You also got Ted in your corner. That's the number one thing I said. Someone looking for a deal is you should work with Ted. He'll probably, everybody I know has been super successful. A lot of it comes from Ted bringing them the property first.
So I only want to add to what you're saying, not necessarily about returns, but to correct you, because that was actually Mo Albers was one that found that property. So if you want to find a good property, you should work with Mo Albers maybe instead of Ted Kosh.
In working with some of my clients recently, Omaha's been pretty hot the last couple of years. You know, it's still perceived as a good value, but in speaking to several clients, they've had a lot of really good luck going into the communities just surrounding Omaha. You know, places like Fremont, going over to Council Bluffs, Tacoma, Bellevue. I mean, if you can find a little bit smaller town that, you know, everything's so expensive to build right now. And so people, especially in smaller towns, you know, they're not getting the financing, they're not getting the TIF and all that and that fun stuff to build. And so there's just a limited amount of real estate, but maybe a town's got an industry. And so people are looking for housing. Well, you generally can pick things up a little bit less expensively in smaller towns, but still find some really good deals out there. So I've had several people touting that lately.
The other thing I would say is just dealing with borrowers and buyers that are coming in from out of town, is that they don't necessarily understand there's a different tax levy for every flippin' street we have in Omaha, Nebraska. And nobody has the same, right? And so to teach them and to work with them on controlling expenses is going to help them really maximize their cash flow and what their objective is for that property. The other thing is that what are they really looking for in that investment for a return on investment? Everybody has a different solution or a different, are they looking at cap rates? What are they looking at? What are they wanting out of that property? It's just like your investment portfolio when you're working with an advisor. Everybody has a different, I'm going to retire in 2 years. I'm going to retire in 20 years. This is my goal. Everybody has a different goal. Everybody has a different goal for their real estate investments as well. So, but it all comes back down to controlling your expenses so that you know what your true net is, so that you know what you can continue to lean on that property so that you can minimize your overall tax burden also.
Okay, Missy's question for you.
I was going to say something real quick, though. Just
go ahead.
That please do your due diligence to check over your property before you purchase it, especially those out-of-state buyers. It just makes me a little nervous. You get into it, and then you realize that, especially if you haven't been there to take a look at it, that as much as I love property managers and real estate agents, I've been both of you before. I've done the jobs. That to get a third party in there who's really, looking at it from a different perspective on what is going to be the ultimate project here. What do we have for condition of the unit? How does the roof? How's the HVAC? How's the wiring? How is the plumbing? What are the condition of the current tenants? What are we going to have to do in order to keep these people happy? Because sometimes we get in after the fact when angry tenants call the city and we come in to do city code violations or just unfortunate situations where things are happening and buyers from out of state in particular are surprised by what's gone down. So I just really encourage to do what you got to do, whether it's an inspection company, an inspector, or a contractor that you trust, or even a family member that you trust, to show up there on site and to do some due diligence to make sure that the property that you're buying is indeed in the condition in which it's been disclosed to you. It's just really important that you're not surprised, just like you were talking about those expenses.
Okay, so I told you I'm going to ask you questions unless somebody comes in. So Misty, my question for you is, you're designing a Airbnb for somebody. Sorry, you're designing an Airbnb for somebody, and what design do you want to use? Is there kind of like a standard trick you use or design you like, or do you do theme rooms? I hear a lot about theme rooms, and then I guess Austin can kind of chime in that too.
I will if you want me to. You bought a house by the zoo and you want it to look like the zoo, I will do that. But it has to be done in taste. So I don't typically have a plan until I've seen the property. And then I'm just kind of inspired by, being in the space and using more, I wouldn't say, maybe trends is the right word, like using more current trends. I promise you I'm not going to come into your house and tell you to paint the walls gray and the cabinets white. I won't do that, ever. Thanks, Mo. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to tell you to paint the walls purple either, if that happens to be the current design trend. So I think classic design overall is what kind of stands the test of time. And so coming into a property that someone knows they're going to furnish it or want to be furnished as an Airbnb, I think about guest comfort and just overall like hominess. So an Airbnb that's kind of just bare bones doesn't give you the same level of comfort and hominess and kind of almost like a ability to be relaxed in the space as one that's designed to look like you could actually live there. Art on the walls, blankets in a basket next to the couch, comfortable beds, warm linens that your cleaners don't hate you for making them clean. So like no big bulky comforters, quilts with layers. Those things are always top of mind when I'm furnishing a short-term or a mid-term rental. I want to design it like I would live there, but also keeping in mind budget and the taste of the client. So if somebody doesn't necessarily agree with my design plan, I'm fine with that. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. It's your money. I'm happy to spend it however you want me to. Yes.
Green cabinets. Yeah, I had her design the Offutt Manor, and I said, just do what you think on the design of it. And I walk in, she painted the cabinets green. I'm like, green cabinets? I'm like, taken away. I'm like, how's this gonna flow? But then she picked out the granite and the backsplash, and it all tied together, and it turned out amazing. I was impressed, but at first, thrown off by the green cabinets, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna trust you and go with it. And it turned out amazing. So.
Thanks for trusting me.
Check.
Dennis has a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. It's just that I'm not behind the switcher or the audio board, so that's why I'm just making sure the audio is fine. So I need to get a tablet so I can operate from over here. But I have two questions, right? So one would be for lenders. I keep hearing about construction loans or renovation loans that operate on draws. So I assume you have to pay for something up front and then you send them the receipt and then they give you back a percentage of how much you spend, correct?
Correct.
So how much money do you need to actually start the renovation process? Can you start with zero?
Well, all right, construction loan, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'll give you an example. We just did a quote. It all depends. Everything depends on a lot of things. We just did a construction loan, and I know I'm going to get phone calls for this, from this, okay? But we just did a construction loan this week. Was it this week or last week? Whatever, the last couple days, where a guy is building a duplex, three duplexes in Florida, and we're giving him, so the land is $300,000. He's spending $1.4 million on the build, and it'll be worth $2 million. We're using the land as a down payment. We're giving him money back at closing, and he brings no more money to the table 18 months later if he sells or he refinances. Okay, so that's something that we can do, but it depends on if you own the land and all that. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. So you have to own the land free and clear.
So that's like new construction, right?
That's new construction.
So
yeah.
what about like rehab loans? Isn't construction loans used for rehab loans?
Right,
as well?
rehab loans, we don't have a program like that for rehab loans.
Rochelle.
So,
do you have any, Rochelle? Oh, wow.
but let's talk. There's always in what we do and what, we're a little bit, we have regulations, obviously, that we have to follow. There's certain things we have to follow as well, but we're a little bit more creative sometimes. We may not be your grandpa loan, okay? You can go grandpa, and if he has $1 million, he'll lend you the money. He doesn't care, right, about anything, okay? But grandpa runs out of money at some point, right? So that's why there's us and Rochelle, obviously.
So our construction loans, we do those through our commercial division at Charter West Bank. They are a 12-month loan. Sometimes they are new construction from the ground up, or they can be a renovation loan as well. And they're going to be based off national prime. They're going to be interest only. You were talking about draws. So what we do is we also work with a title company when we're working with construction financing. And there's a draw. So we have the plans and specs. We know how much it's going to cost to do that renovation or that construction. They will come in with a bid and say, okay, this is what I need to pay my bills. The builder says, this is what I need to pay my bills. And then we do a lien search to make sure there's not any additional liens put on that property. And then we inspect that the items that we're being billed for are truly on the property, and the property has been constructed as per what the request was. So it's usually a 12-month process. It could be less than that as well, but that's how we do those renovation or construction loans. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and I mean, I could always go back and listen to the live to understand it some more.
Yeah.
And I have your number, so.
And you have my number.
There you go.
Yeah. What is my number?
Sorry.
What is my number?
It's in my phone.
402-670-6373.
Did you get my number? It's 844. It's 844 we close. 844 we close.
Yeah. So my second. My other question is for the contractors. So I heard again that you all don't like 203K loans. 203K loans, yeah. Contractors tend to not like FHA 203K loans. Do you all do FHA 203? Like, do you all accept FHA 203 funding? 203K
So
funding?
Charter West does not do 203K loans. And
I
there's
know.
a couple of those renovation loans, okay? So there's the FHA 203K. There's also one from Fannie called the Home Style. But those are typically for owner-occupied, not rental properties.
Right, so thank you very much, Rochelle. For the contractors, the two contractors at the table, have you all ever done any FHA 203K construction? No?
Typically, no.
Okay.
No, I'm not familiar with that. I mean, we invoice and we get paid. I don't know. I don't know any of that.
Okay.
Fancy.
Neither you, Alex?
Stay on that side of the
Neither you? No? Okay, cool. So then I could come with you to. Good. Thank you. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, Ted, back to you.
Fun questions here. Hey, Alex, got a question for you. Got a rental property. It has a huge dirt mound. Don't have a driveway. It's street parking only. Is there any issues generally with the city to dig all that out and put a driveway in? This is in the South Omaha area. What is the cost to move? I mean, just a massive amount. I'm talking like 20-step high amount of dirt. And is that something that you would take on? And do you see value in that as far as, have you heard anybody doing that and getting more value out of the property?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so we don't really care what we have to take on. It just matters if there's any gas lines or water lines in the way. That's about it. That's the only thing we would check on. And then once we get that cleared out, then we get straight to work. It doesn't matter how much dirt is in the way, how many steps we had to put in the property. Yeah, we'll try to get it as best we could.
Any issues with the city at all usually on that, creating new parking like that?
And what was that?
Any issues with the city generally creating that new type of parking, a new parking lot?
No.
No, okay. John, got a question for you.
Oh boy.
At what stage in your rehab do you want to have your wood floors done? Is this something you want to do like in the beginning, middle, end, or what stage is it ideal to have your wood floors refinished in your rehab project?
I suggest all of our homeowners that we work with to have their hardwoods refinished at the very last stage. Generally, what I tell you is when I leave, your cleaner should come, clean the property, you should take your photos, get it listed, and get it sold. And when your hardware should be up, your fixtures should be up, your blinds should be up. The less amount of foot traffic you can have on your brand new pre-finished floors, the better. I'll give you an example. This is a job I did back in January. We finished all these floors. We did a natural finish on these, and the owner had a carpet company come and carpet the back room. And if you don't know, there's usually two different types of carpet. They're either soft back or hard back carpet. This company had chosen to use a hard back carpet. They brought it in, they drug it across the floors, scratched the floors, and then this contractor had decided that the best place to lay the carpet out for his cuts was the living room. So in the living room, there were razor barks all the way into the floors, about 10 feet long to 15 feet long in several different areas. So that was a not ideal situation. So ideally, have your carpets done first. I've also had another comment someone has made to me is, I always do my carpets last, and then I have my flooring guy come and do a scuff and buff after. I asked them why. Well, because I don't want you to get any stain on my carpet. So what that tells me is you've used sloppy floor mechanics in the past that have stained your carpets. If I'm doing your job, I will either tape or even pull your carpet back from the transition, do my staining, sealing process, and when I can come back and reattach that to your tack strip. It's not that difficult. It doesn't take me very long, and it saves all of us a lot of time. While I'm on this topic, can I keep going?
I did have another question on that, but to you
Okay.
after that. So.
Go on.
If I go through my properties, I have wood floors on my properties. You've actually done them all. Is there ideal colors to do in a property, or what's trendy right now, colors-wise? I know, like my last building you did like an all like white floor, like a real natural looking. I thought that looked pretty cool. But what's hot right now? Coloring floors, gold floors, white floors, what?
Purple floors? Yeah, purple floors are really hot. Green floors are hot. No, I'm kidding. I actually just removed some green flooring. It really just depends on your property and the look that you're going after. A lot of these investment properties are smaller rooms under 100 square feet. The general refinished area is 800 to 1,000 square feet. And I will have people ask, well, can I do an ebony? Yes, you can do an ebony, but do you want your small room to have dark floors and make it feel like a dungeon? So can we do stain? Yes, we can do any stain you want, but generally what I lead in to tell people is if you have small rooms, do something light, either natural or maybe a light gray or, there's so many different stains out there, but generally if you have a small room, keep it light. If you have big rooms with lots of bay windows and you would do dark, that's about the only place I will say it will look good.
Something I was going to mention, like, so I've read the back of a can of poly after applying it, and it said something about like a week or two before any rugs, and like a month before any furniture.
A month is quite drawn out. Typically, so it kind of breaks down to if we're using water-based, oil-based, or even a two-part system. And I can cover this quickly. On our water-based systems, it takes a minimum 3 days before you can move any furniture in on it. 5 days for a full cure, and I usually tell everyone just wait the full 5 days. It'll make sure that the product is fully cured. You won't have any mistakes or boo-boos from who's ever bringing stuff in. And on oil base, the cure time is 14 days. It's 2 weeks.
Okay.
So generally, with everyone here, I always use a water base because of the quickness and turnaround. And it doesn't yellow, and it doesn't stink out all the other contractors. Generally, when I'm there, a contractor asks me, when are you going to start staining? I'll say, well, probably, let's say Wednesday. And maybe I start a day early on Tuesday, and they're shocked that I'm putting product down because they're still able to work. And that's because the water base has low VOC, low volatile organic chemicals that do not gas out the house, compared to an actual stain or oil base, which have high VOCs, and which you guys probably can remember from Woods class in high school or something. When you went to go make a table, you're like, oh my God, this stinks. And that can gas your house out.
John.
Mo.
Hey, Johnny, as you know, a lot of the homes that I deal with are usually the older South Omaha, North Omaha homes that have beautiful wooden floors throughout. And I've noticed that some of the floors have got kind of like just a square cutout. Maybe there was a vent there, or they moved a wall, or there was a column. And I noticed that on your jobs, you feather in your strips of wood, and I just thought that was something that you might want to go ahead and mention.
Sure. So the standard procedure for replacement repair will be to identify the wood species, and then once we have the species identified, it will be to identify the grade of wood. You know, there's usually 3 grades, and then there's a character grade from the nicest to the least nice. And you want to match that, and then once that's matched, we would then cut the floor out in a feather, or maybe people have said a piano look, a key look, and you feather your floors in, and you make sure your cuts and your seams don't line up in a unnatural pattern, if that makes sense.
So if you guys have questions, just go ahead and come up to the mic, and I'll do it. Otherwise, you gotta keep on hearing my questions. Hey, Marty, when it comes to short-term rentals, one question I had that you end up answering, but I think it's really important for people here, is insurance for short terms. It is not traditional insurance, and why do you need special insurance for short-term rentals? And what's the cost difference? Because that's also a thing to know about.
Sure, good question. So obviously short-term rentals have become very popular recently. You can make really good money doing short-term rentals. But insurance, everything is fun, based on numbers and statistics, right? So the insurance company is going to say, hey, are you doing short-term rentals? Then 95% of those companies, if the answer is yes, are going to say, we don't want it. If they know that it's being used as a short-term rental, the vast majority of insurance companies will not insure the property. And you begin to think, why? Everybody thinks, well, my short-term renters take better care of the property than my long-term renters do. Well, apparently not, based on numbers and statistics, right? So statistically, you've got somebody who, lives somewhere, long-term renter, they know the property well. So let's say they get up in the middle of the night and it's dark, and they could reasonably, find their way, to the bathroom without having to turn every light in the place on. But even so, if they had to turn the light on, they know where the light switch is, right? So you have a short-term rental, people that are not familiar with the property, and there's just more likelihood that they're going to hurt themselves, I suppose. And it's really the liability aspect that the insurance carriers are concerned about. As to physical damage, yeah, I mean, there's that concern too. I mean, if you're not as familiar with the property, you don't know where things are, then I suppose, yeah, it's entirely possible that, if there's a problem, the problem could be bigger, because you're not going to be able to mitigate it as quickly as you might if you knew the property well. So as far as short-term rental insurance goes, yes, there are a few carriers that will do that. It does tend to be a little bit more expensive, not tremendously, but it is important, I would say, especially if you've got, a multi-unit property and more than 50% of those units are being used as short-term rental, I would highly recommend seeking out some short-term rental insurance specifically. Insurance companies are getting smarter. They're starting to figure out ways to find out if a property is being used as a short-term rental. For a while there, it was kind of difficult for them to do so they were none the wiser. They'd come in, and insurance adjuster would be like, okay, I see the damage, and here's the check. But if it's a significant claim, fire claim, water claim, something, a liability claim, then the insurance carrier is going to send in their own adjusters instead of a third party, and that adjuster for that carrier is immediately going to be looking for potential outs. I hate to say it, but that's the way it works. So if you represented to an insurance company that it was a regular long-term rental, but turns out it was actually being used as a short-term rental, that's just an open door for them to say no. And you don't want that. You don't want to get caught with your pants down at claim time, because it can be a big deal, and it can, lead to having to lawyer up and go through a large legal battle, and maybe you win, maybe you don't. So it's really just kind of in your best interest, if you're doing short terms, to insure it as such.
You had a question over here. What kind of difference in pricing, and how does deductibles change?
Deductibles, I haven't really noticed much of a difference. I mean, if it's a 1 to 4 unit, you can do as low as $1,000 deductible, as high as $10,000, or even sometimes higher. If you're into 5 or more units, then the insurance is considered apartment insurance, different animal. So anything 1 to 4 unit is on a policy called a dwelling fire policy. Anything 5 units or more is a different type of policy. They're asking different questions for underwriting. And so it's just, a bit more heavily scrutinized if it's 5 or more units, or if it's, let's say, more than 3 floors. But pricing difference-wise, expect a 20 to 30% increase as compared to a long-term rental policy.
Hey guys, thanks for being here and doing this. Question for Al. I do most of my work in Iowa flipping houses. The basic rule of thumb is Nebraska is a title insurance state, Iowa is an abstracting state. That seems to be sort of the rule, except when it's not, because maybe Pottawatomie County doesn't follow that. Maybe Council Bluffs doesn't follow that. Maybe it depends on the lender. Maybe it depends on the day of the week and if it's cloudy out. Can you talk about abstracting and what folks need to know, where they might need to know about it, where it applies, et cetera, and why is it different, why is it important?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Gerard. So technically and lawfully, Iowa is a title guarantee state. Does that prevent me from always issuing title insurance in Iowa? No. Typically, your national lenders will require title guarantee, whether it's Council Bluffs, Pottawatomie County, or not, or any other part of Iowa. I've done title insurance in virtually every county in Iowa over the years I've been working in this industry. And especially working with real estate agents, where they're looking at real estate, residential real estate. Those are questions I always have to ask when a contract comes my way. Is the lender going to be okay with title insurance? So cash deals. We do all those types of deals all day long, no issues. So great question.
And lenders prefer title insurance.
Thanks, Rochelle.
Brooke, I got a question for you. You are working with a brand new investor, and they're excited. They have a property that they found on the MLS, and they want to know how much it's going to cost to rehab it. How do you respond to that, and what process do you like to take a new client through or a new investor? Like, because sometimes you gotta give a little schooling, right? You gotta say, hey, I'm not just gonna walk in every single property and give you free bids. I mean, because your time is money, right?
Right.
And even in your experienced clients, you're not gonna go do that for.
Right.
So what is the process? What do you expect? And if I'm a brand new client wanting to bring business to you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, the first thing, we will probably want to have the serious conversation after it's under contract. Did you say that it was under contract?
No.
It's not under contract. Okay. So if it's not under contract, we have gotten that request before, and we do typically charge for a visit. Our visits are pretty intense. Jeff I think he snuck out. Is he here still?
No, he's hiding.
Oh, he's hiding. He's got to go watch his daughter cheer at a homecoming game tonight at Millard South, so he is going to have to duck out. But Jeff, we usually come with sometimes even what looks like a caravan. We do show up. It's quite an intense visit where we all pile in the car, if not in our own vehicles, and drive out to the location. And we have a pretty intensive inspection of the property. We'll step in and start on one side, and I recommend this for anyone. This is not just something that we can do. Anybody can do this. But you step in and you touch and you turn and you open and close and you flush and you run the water, and everything, you touch it all, is the best way to really get a thorough inspection done. And that inspection is necessary in order to get a true estimate of what the renovation is going to cost, because it could be one thing that you missed, it's going to be a $5,000 cost. So we'll step in and we'll start on one side, and we just move our way through the property, touching everything along that wall, opening all the windows, opening all the cabinets, opening all the drawers, turning on all the plumbing, filling all the sinks up to capacity, letting it all out at once, taking a look underneath, seeing how the sink handles it. I mean, and this is if your utility's on, which hopefully they are. A lot of times your utilities are not on, and that's a whole different animal. Going all the way through the property like this and getting to the other side, the whole time, what's cool about at least what Fat Frog offers is we are educating you every step of the way. What are we looking at? What are we seeing? Why is this important? What are the different things to look at here? You could find this, you could find that. Why is that important, and why is that important? Why does this not so much matter, but that is really important? And we'll do that from the outside of the home, on the interior of the home, and the exterior of the home. And once we get all the way to the end of that, it's typically, it's a $100 charge is what we do for an inspection like that. We don't provide anything in writing, but we are there for you to answer all of your questions. And that is an easy appointment to have. Now, once we kind of get familiar with you and we realize that, hey, this is we're part of your dream team, then there's a little bit of a different program. We don't typically charge for those, because even if we don't get this job because you don't get the property, we're going to get the next one because we're on your dream team. We understand that. So we'll do that same inspection for investors when they have properties come up. We do like to see that it's under contract, because if it's under contract, then it's easy for us to really do that. If it's not under contract, that's typically when that fee pops up. Again, unless you're a repeat customer, somebody that we work with a lot, then we'll come in and do that. So does that answer the question? Okay.
Yeah. Just real quick, if I dovetail on that, a lot of the things you need to be concerned about with the property that you're looking to buy are the same concerns that an insurance carrier might have. Really quickly, if you want an insurance quote on something because you're trying to work up your numbers and see if it's going to be, if it's going to work, please be serious, at least somewhat serious about buying the property before you ask me to run a quote, because my process is pretty thorough. It takes a while, quite a lot of work to go through that process. It's time and effort. So, but I have a worksheet that I've developed over time that includes a lot of these questions that an insurance carrier is going to ask about a property. And those are things that you should really, as an investor, be concerned about. Things like, okay, how old's the roof? What kind of roof is it? You know, what kind of plumbing does it have? How old is that plumbing? Electrical, what kind of electrical does it have? And there's a whole list of questions there that perhaps you wouldn't normally think to ask. It's quirky stuff. But if you want a copy of that worksheet, send me an email, and I'd be happy to send it to you. And that'll give you kind of a roadmap, if you will, if you're looking at a property. My cards and everything are back there in the corner.
You can get a round idea, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times that's what I'm doing. If somebody's looking at a property and they're like, hey, Marty, I just want to get an idea. I'm not going to go through the full quoting process on that unless you're serious about it. But I've done enough of this that I can kind of give you a reasonable estimate, you know, ask you a few questions about it, just general questions. Where is it at? You know, this, and give you kind of a reasonable estimate. Now, there's so many different factors that go into making up the rate on any particular property, but I can give you kind of a ballpark.
Well, first, I just want to say, Brooke, that sounds like a home inspection, and $100 sometimes is an amazing value. I think you should charge more for that. So I know a lot of you have been doing this for quite a long time, and those of us who have been have some really awesome stories. And I would like to hear from some of you, your craziest, failing forward is what we call them on our real estate team. So crazy stories and what you learned from them, or what advice you have for the investors.
I got a lot. Probably the craziest one was where I actually felt threatened. It was last year. Yeah, last year, actually. We evicted somebody through a non-renewal. So it wasn't even a non-payment issue. It was the owners wanted to kind of sell the house, or, you know, just done with it. So did non-renew. This was during COVID, or this was about actually 2 years ago. And we got the eviction. Well, it was a huge drawn-out battle throughout COVID. It took about 8 months. Then we finally got the eviction granted. And then I went to, the constable came, changed the locks. All that went smoothly. And then I went to go take pictures. Well, I showed up, and the lady was still there. Like, she had, broken a window and came back in. And then she started, freaking out on me that I had no right to evict her, that we were going to go to court and all of this. And I was like, we already went to court. And, you know, this is said and done. I know you have your feelings, but the eviction already happened. So arguing whether I could or couldn't is irrelevant. But then she kept getting closer and closer, and it basically had me pinned against my truck. She's a bigger lady, bigger than me. You know, I'm not a very big guy. I ended up having to call the police to come and help me because I couldn't leave. I was stuck in this area. And they came, and she started arguing with them, and they ended up taking her away in cuffs, trying to explain to her, no, you've already been evicted. It's not we don't have the right to it. It's done. A judge already ordered it. So that's probably one of the craziest, personal experiences I had where, I guess my learning from that was after an eviction or we're not quite sure how the people left, I always bring someone with me now. To either call the cops for me, because that was also tricky. I'm pinned and calling them while also trying not to alert her. I just wanted her. I was like, "Can you back up? Can you?" And she had crazy eyes. I don't know if you ever seen them. You can just tell, you know, when you look into someone's eyes, I'm not safe. So I also do that for anybody. If it's not me, I say take a buddy. So we don't go alone to properties that we're not sure if they're really vacant. So. I got more if you want to keep going. But
I have a house under renovation in Florida right now, and it's taken a long time. Let's put it that way. I bought it in November of last year, and it's almost a year. We figured we'd have this done in 6 months. Come to find out, we're trying to put a pool in, and where the lot's at, it's partly on the county and partly in the city of St. Petersburg and the county of Pinellas County, right through the middle of right where we want to put the pool. And so neither one of the jurisdictions wanted to claim that we're going to inspect be responsible for the permit. So it's been some back and forth battle. I still don't have the pool permit, and this has been, 9 months now? So that's one issue, but, we've done over 300 flips, and I've never got one across the finish line, and this isn't going to be one of them. So I'm going to probably have to go down there next month to see it through, but, being in the business for 20 years, you're still running into things like this. Consider myself an experienced contractor. I hired a contractor in Florida, and, it's just not getting done fast as I would like it to be done. And, I could go on and on about the issues, this and that, the arguments that we've had with the contractor down there. But, it is what it is, and, I just got to step up my game and get down there and go finish it myself. He's still going to be on board, but
so you're gonna go hang out on a beach for a
that's
month or two while you look at the ocean.
I do when I go down there.
Hang out in Florida.
It's really getting some work done.
It's really rough.
Yeah, and so also to that point, I am thankful with JM Capital. They did the loan for us on that property as well, so it's been a good experience on that. So thank you, Andy, on that. But it's just
I have a question
dealing
with that.
different areas. Okay, go ahead.
Should title insurance be covering that issue? Clearly it's not you, but we literally talked to the county and the city attorneys, and they've never heard of a lot line getting drawn right in the middle of the backyard. So somebody messed up there. We didn't have a survey done. We had copies of the previous survey. In that event, would title insurance cover that? Possibly.
Yeah, so I would want to take the survey that you had and find out where that property line is, physically, determine where that is. It's right through the middle of the backyard. Yeah.
And it doesn't show on the previous survey.
Yeah, that could potentially be a title insurance claim, right? I would bring that up with, file a claim, see what happens.
Does it matter if you have expanded or basic coverage?
On something like that, not necessarily.
Okay, well, there you go.
Right? I did an Iowa property, about 6 months ago, and I think this was in Glenwood. And the survey, they did a plot plan is what they did. It's not a full survey, but it's a general idea where roads and alleys and such lie. And so they had a filed alley easement over the back portion of the lot. And so they brought this up to the city, and the city was willing to release that so they could have the full use of their lot back. But in actuality, people had actually been driving over the back part where the lot line was, away from where the filed easement was. Because I had knowledge of that, I accepted to that issue. Because everybody, here's what you've got, and you figure it out. We're not going to cover it, right? So, yeah. Access is something that we insure to the property, because if you don't have access, that property's landlocked. And that you're going to have problems selling that property. You're going to have problems potentially getting to that property. Neighbors may not want you to go over their land to get to it, right?
So, Austin, one more question for you, then I have a question for the whole panel, and we'll get concluded up today. So, Austin, my final question for you is, you personally manage my Airbnbs, but you have a new Airbnb client come in or a new traditional client coming in. What is it that you need from the owner to be able to get that process started? Can you give us one example of maybe a transfer over to you and another example of a new client?
Like an existing Airbnb or?
Yep. No, well, either or. Just taking on a new client's investment property can be an Airbnb also. But what's that process look like to take somebody on? What do you expect from the homeowner? And then I'll have one quick question for everybody before we conclude.
So what we would expect is the ability to go look at the property. We want to get eyes on it, make sure that it would be something we'd want to manage. And then some of just like traditional paperwork that you would probably see at any management company or similar to when you sell your house. The state of Nebraska requires an agency disclosure. We would do a management agreement, and then we want to get like your bank account info so I know where to send the money that we collect for you. So there'd be like about probably about 7 pieces of paper that you would get to have you fill out and return to us. And then we'd want to get on site. If it's occupied, we would want copies of leases, any information about as much information as you could provide. So if you know that every winter something happens with this gutter gets clogged and it needs to be cleaned, knowing that beforehand instead of it being clogged and leaking inside, and the tenant calls me, like, you know it happens every year when I just got it, that would be helpful. So any sort of like quirks and things about the property. And then your expectations. Do you want to be hands-on? Do you want to fix your own stuff? How involved do you want to be in the management of your property? Do you prefer to never hear from me unless we're going to spend a lot of money? And I have clients like that. I have a client out in Connecticut who he point blank told me, he says, my preference to never speak to you. And he's like, you do your thing, and if you have to spend a bunch of money, call me. But otherwise, we have our maintenance limit threshold, and if we stay underneath that, he doesn't want to hear from me. He's a busy lawyer out there, and he has these properties, for his retirement, and he's like, make sure they don't burn down, keep them, together, and keep the rent checks coming. But other people want, to have a weekly call or a weekly update of what's new with my property. Which is fine, but so yeah, I'd want to know your expectations. Usually I ask. One thing I don't want to do is, get into a month of managing for you, and you're like, I really expected you to call me every Friday and, give me an update. But you never told me that that's what you wanted. So we do a lot of customizing at Orange. But I would say point blank across any property management company you're working with, set your expectations with your manager up front so that way they can meet them or not. And if they don't, you can decide what to do after that. But it's hard to meet the expectation if you haven't given it. So.
Awesome, thank you. Mike gave me a good tip. Maybe it was Jerry, but it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And they said, hey, go into your property every 3 months, offer free air filter changes. When you go and change the air filter, at the time, you guys had a person that actually ran through property to property to check the air filters. Yeah. And I think you charged like $50. And I remember working with somebody like, $50, that's crazy. It was like, well, you're not changing your air filter, you're getting eyes on the property, seeing what it needs. So that was like one of the best tips I ever gotten. So I pass on to everybody else.
It's a great way to get into the property. And tenants don't change the filters. Like, they really don't. So if you...
It's in your best interest.
It's in your best, unless you want to buy a new AC.
And spray out the AC unit. Okay, so here's my question for everybody, and then we'll conclude for the night. We'll start with Alex over here, but it's the same question for everybody. Just gives us a short version of it, but I think it's going to apply to each one of you. We obviously all know that the economy has changed. Interest rates, supply issues, and everything else going on. But how has the change in the economy affected your business, and how are you getting around it?
That's a hard question. Mainly the thing with me is getting concrete. So I'll have a job prepped and ready Monday, and I won't be able to pour it until like Friday if I don't have the concrete scheduled a week advance, which right now, that's tough. And then...
Has that affected pricing then too, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it does.
So what's that, do you price per yard?
Per yard, usually 1,000.
1,000?
Yeah. But it's gonna go up because I had to bring the concrete myself in now, haul the concrete myself, so that's I'll take like 2-3 trips on one patio. That's like 3 extra hours than I should usually take on a patio. So it's just crazy right now, pricing and everything. And clients aren't understandable with it sometimes, and it's just crazy right now.
Just to kind of dovetail off for you. So I recently had my driveway redone via the city. Thank you, City of Omaha. And it was with roll-off. Are you experiencing that the bigger companies that are contracted with the city are getting top priority of the concrete that compared to the smaller guys?
Yeah, definitely, yep.
Okay. So on the flooring side, for me, just within the past month, we've had a 30% increase in all flooring products. There was nothing I can do about it. Before, a gallon of water-based Bona Mega 1 cost $70. Now it's $98 overnight. What, $30 jump overnight. There was no, hey, we're gonna be bumping prices next quarter. There was nothing they could do about it. I said, well, crap, for this price, maybe I'll go to the higher end product that costs this amount. And they said, no, they also had a $75 increase. So that product that was the highest end at $100 a gallon now costs $170 a gallon. So how have I combated that? Unfortunately, I just have to stay with market rate, and my prices went up 50 cents a square foot.
Now, Home Depot does 20% off paint and more. Have you taken advantage of that?
So when I first started, like when I did my personal home, sure, I used the box store stuff, and I bought out all of the flooring product in Omaha from Menards and Home Depot in 2 weeks and could not get it restocked. So, yeah, that's about all they can do for me.
As I alluded to earlier, everything in the last couple of years has just gotten so much more expensive. Building materials, labor, and insurance carriers kind of adjust slowly to these changes in the market over time. But what we're seeing now is that all the insurance carriers are adjusting their reconstruction cost estimates, right? They have these software programs. When you ever insure a property, every company has their own version of the software, but ultimately you have to calculate what it would cost to rebuild that property, and that's what they want you to insure it for. I mean, there's ways around that. There's different, levels of coverage that we can do, but in general, we're seeing some pretty substantial increases in dwelling coverage amount at renewal. So I'm getting a lot more calls lately saying, hey, my rates are going up. What can we do about this? So we say, okay, let's just go to market. Some adjust more quickly than others. Some carriers adjust more quickly than others. So maybe we can find a new home for it that's going to be more cost efficient or effective for now. But that's the nice thing about having options, is to be able to take that data, shop it around, find the best deal, and make sure you're getting what you need.
Well, interest rates. But we're not in a recession, and there is no inflation. So you never listen to the media. But one of the things that I'm doing, yes, interest rates have increased, but when I got into the business, they were at, between 13 and 18% when I got into the business. So 7.5% is nothing, and it's still below the first interest rate that I had on my very first home. The thing is, and I did a lot of conversation with a borrower today that Mo brought me, and that's part of the reason I was late. I was home drinking. No. They're worried about that interest rate. So we got locked in at a 7.5% interest rate. And then she calls back. She goes, I just think that's too much money. Da, 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 da. So my fiance found an interest rate for me at 6.875. Yeah, right over there. Yeah. No. And I said, okay, Let's look at that 6.875. How many points are you being charged for that 6.875? Well, it was 1.25. So it ended up being around 29.42 is what they were going to have to pay to buy down their rate from 7.5 to 6.875. And I told them I would match that. I said, but let's just look at the difference in your price, or in your payment. The difference in the payment was $87 a month. So you take that $29.42 and you divide it by 87, it's going to take them 30 months to recoup or to break even from paying those points. I said, most likely interest rates within the next 10 to 12 months are going to be back down into the low 5s or mid 4s. And I truly believe that. Just by looking at what's happening, the Fed increases the interest rate. They're going to raise it again here at the end of this month by 3/4. Following month, they're going to raise it probably by 1/2, if not 3/4. And then we're going to see everything stagnate, right? Everything's going to stop. And they're going to start bringing that rate down. But prior to them bringing that prime rate down, you're also going to see that 10-year Treasury. So a couple months ago, as I spoke also, and they had raised it 3/4, we saw mortgage interest rates drop by 0.5%. It was because of the 10-year Treasury. The 10-year Treasury went down to around 2.62%. Well, it's now back up to 3.82. We're going to see the 10-year Treasury over 4 probably in probably less than 3 weeks. The 10-year Treasury and the 2-year Treasury is what we look at for mortgage interest rates, whether it's 1 to 4 family or whether it's owner-occupied. So the one thing is just taking the time to educate all of my buyers on here's what you're looking at. So if we go back and we look at this current property that they're looking at, and they bought it for $250, and if you look at that appreciation over the next year or so, let's say it's going to be 4%. Now we've experienced 14 to 20% appreciation here in Omaha, but I'm telling them anticipate 4% appreciation. So if you wait to buy a house or you wait to buy that rental property, it's appreciating, and you could have bought it today. Yes, the interest rate might be a little bit, but you're earning money and you're not paying somebody else's. So someone else's mortgage. So the numbers can all show you the path that you need to go. And so that's how I talk to my borrowers and try to really finesse them into understanding interest rate versus your expense, looking at appreciation and value. And it's all going to come out in the wash, and we just have to buckle down and keep our expenses lower. You know, going to an insurance company that can look at many different options for you, so that your insurance is less than if you were just looking at one. And you know, I know there's a lot of people that use USAA, State Farm, Farm Bureau, but they're looking at their product. When you work with Marty, he's looking at, I don't know, a myriad of 25 to 30 different companies that he can write with, and then he's shopping for you versus you taking your time to shop. And so that's the way that I look at my business as well, is I'm here to make sure that you're making the best investment.
Can I add to that real quick? One of the things that we had discussed with the client was that right now is a great time to buy. There's more inventory on the market right now at less of a price than there was just 6 months ago. I mean, people were paying $20,000, $30,000 over listing and asking price. Yes, it's a pendulum. So we've got interest rates right now, they're up higher, but there's more inventory and the cost of the houses are lower. The bottom line is at the end of the year, you're going to be able to write off a percentage of that interest rate, and you can refinance. Can you write off an overpriced house?
And that's a good point. Yeah, so that is a good point too. So A lot of my buyers are also saying, hey.
Can you repeat a little bit of that? So 'cause we didn't get that on the recording, or a lot of the crowd didn't hear it. Can you give us a short version of that?
So the short version of that is that now is the best time to buy because there's more inventory and you're not paying over value for that inventory because the prices have evened out. Now, she did state that, the prices are lower. Well, that does not mean that the value is lower. Other people were paying over and above the value, and they were willing to do that because they wanted the house. But now is the time to buy, whether it's rental or owner occupied, now is the time to buy. The values are not falling. Interest rates are rising. You're just paying the actual value for the property versus an accelerated.
With the economy doing what it's doing, it's, what we've been taught how to handle it with the mentoring and the coaching that we've received is just to work harder, to try harder, to just put more money into the business, basically, do more marketing, make sure that we keep answering our phone, and I don't know if this is really what the question was directed at, but there's a lot of contractors out there who will not withstand the recession, or they'll get scared, or they'll stop putting money into their business. And by going the other route, we're going to be the strong one that survives. So that's what we do, is we just keep building and keep working and keep getting better and better. As a contractor, right now it's not easy by any means, because it's always hard, but the easy part is answering the phone, which seems to be what a lot of contractors aren't doing nowadays, is answering the phone and showing up for appointments and following through on doing what we say we'll do and getting the job done on time and within budget. And those are the things that we at Fat Frog really pride ourselves on. And so it's really not a scary time for us. It's actually a pretty exciting time for us, because it's a good time for us to really grow and ramp up instead of getting scared and running.
Yeah, so kind of what Rochelle said as well, as far as the interest rates obviously have affected the business a little bit. Basically people are a little more cautious about what they're buying, they're putting their money into. And the refinance side, of course, people are scared about that, although they're still doing it. There are people that are still doing it. They want the money, they got a lot of equity in, they'd like to pull it out. And purchasing as well, it's the same kind of coaching that we just heard right now with Mo and Rochelle. As far as this is the time to buy, you just don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea what's going to happen, whether interest rates are going down or they're going up. Nobody really knows for sure, and for how long that is, because some people are not scared. Generally, in general, money is flowing like crazy. There's a lot of people. I go to some RIAs, and there's 6 or 7 of us around the room, and so there's a lot of money that's flowing out there, and people are taking that money as well, because there's people out there taking a lot of risk because they're not afraid. They think it's going to go up. So there's 2 sides to this coin, obviously, but basically it's the same thing about also what Brooke said is keep following up, keep answering the phone. That's what we're doing. Making sure we're getting back to people so they know we're here, and answering any questions and directing them to any kind of way, especially my background in particular with the rehab and stuff that I used to do. I understand what people's needs are out there. So again, it's 844, we close.
Now, Andy, you probably, we don't need to elaborate on this, but you work 50 states around the country, right? So you probably see trends also moving to different areas, right?
Yeah. So. Right now, there's Florida is doing great. There's other parts of the country that are doing we don't have a big presence in certain parts, and probably the parts that we don't want to have the presence in, which is California, New York, those things. We kind of it's just a natural thing. We can blend there, but we don't necessarily go there. And I know those are the states that obviously are going to do fall, and eventually faster, I think, than some of, like Omaha would be more stable, would be my guess. And I think in particular right now in Florida, though, as you know, we had that hurricane that came through that skirted us, we got hit just a little bit. But 2 hours south, that's going to be a big deal for us. So I think we're going to have a lot of business come out of that for JM as well. So.
For my industry, it is the economy has affected it in the supply chain for sure. Not just building materials, the lead times on hardware and tile and those kind of things are pretty crazy, but specifically furnishings. So just going to Nebraska Furniture Mart and seeing, if you walk in the door and you see like 250 different styles of sofas and you're like, your eyes are like softballs and you feel like a kid well, at least I feel like a kid in a candy store. But the reality is that they have like 2 or 3 of them in stock and the rest are like 6 months out. If any. And the 2 or 3 that they have in stock are not pretty. Not something I really want to use. And so, but not just that, furnishings, but appliances. I mean, I'm sure for everyone who's an investor in this room who has tried to buy an appliance in the last 6 to 12 months has found that to be very challenging. For example, Jim Endebrock found a double wall oven when he was doing his rehab on a property in Bellevue. And he like should have bought a lottery ticket that day because he found in stock, I think it was a 20-inch, kind of a unique sized a double wall oven. And they brought it to install it, and during installation, shattered the glass on the front of the oven. And so, of course, go to reorder it, and it's no, sir, 8 to 10 week lead time. And we either had to wait or pivot, and we pivoted, and we had the cabinet modified to take on a 24-inch, a 30-inch wall oven, which is significantly bigger than the one that was there before. And but he was lucky to have found that. He was lucky to have found the 30-inch, really. So it is extremely challenging when you're trying to provide a service in which you can't actually provide the product. And so you have to be creative and find other avenues or work with the ugly couch by putting some pillows or something on it. So, and then the other part of that that's affected my business directly is shipping times. So I am, what I used to count on a 7-day shipping time from, the online merchants like Wayfair and Overstock and things like that we buy some discounted decor items from, are now 10 to 14 days. And half the time, 3 of the mattresses show up and the 4th one got lost in Never Neverland. So, and that I think is because of the challenges that people have had with keeping people employed in those industries. So it's like I said, a challenge for sure, but something that has to be met, and you have to come up with a plan to overcome it. You can't just let it stop you.
So the economy and changing economy has affected our business in a lot of different ways. I'd say probably the most significant way is going to be the labor market. Finding quality labor at a reasonable price has been difficult. And by extension for our tenants, rent prices have increased astronomically compared to previous years, but wages have not quite kept up with that. So our pool of possible tenants got smaller over the past year by going by rental income verification, make 3 times, 2.5 times the amount of rent. Well, rent went up for some people about $400 or $500, and their wages didn't necessarily. But I think that, so one of my favorite things about, we just went to the Bigger Pockets conference, is on day 2, they bring in an economist, and they did this last year at New Orleans as well. And the economist comes in with a whole bunch of graphs and kind of gives you like a state of where everything's at, where we've been the last 12 months, and where they think we're going. And it's usually not as full as like day 1, like for the opening one, because numbers bore people. But it's like my favorite part. Like I've seen people sleeping during this. I'm like, this is so great, guys. Like, look at this graph. And I don't really love numbers, but I like that kind of stuff because they put up a graph that compared the price of real estate since 1920 to now, and overlaid it with a quantitative easing graph, and showed the parallels on how it kind of happened in like our money supply, which really for me helped me kind of understand how really what's happening, like what it means when the Fed increases, by a quarter or by a half, and why they're doing that, and then what graph looked like before they ever started doing that. Before the Fed existed, like our money was just like stable, and it's like skyrockets. And then same thing that happens with real estate. It's kind of stable, slowly going up, and then it just skyrockets from like 1960 on, kind of like when we deviate from like the gold standard. But that kind of stuff put in perspective for me, like, because the end result was, hey, it's going to be okay. That we're not in like this massive recession that is going to, like you said, California, New York, the bigger populated areas are probably going to be hurt a lot more. But we should, according to The Economist, we should start seeing like a big bounce back here early January, February of next year, to an economy that's going to be roaring. So I'm looking forward to that.
For me in the roofing industry, we have to stay on top of the price increases. We constantly get emails from our suppliers with pricing increasing, so we have to, in turn, look at our rates and our pricing and adjust it accordingly. And then also lead times for product. We know certain products, are longer lead times, like for instance windows. Lead times have come down somewhat on those, but we still have some issues with certain items. So, yeah, lead time and pricing is a big thing for us. Keeping track of that and, keeping an eye on our bottom line.
So what am I going to say after all these people? Good grief, I'm right in the middle of, the whole market, the ups and downs. I can guarantee, I'm not an economist, that the market's going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. But what am I doing differently? A lot more sales calls, reaching out to a lot more people in real estate, talking about farming real estate neighborhoods. Hit me up. I've got a tool. That can help you farm. Doing a mastermind. I'm facilitating a mastermind group for real estate agents. So it's just trying to do some different things, reach out to different people and see what we can do to help keep them focused on the mission at large.
Awesome. Can we get a big round of applause for these guys? We really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. So I can tell, we have a great group here. It's actually, I think this is a record panel, biggest I've ever seen. But I thought it was really important to get as many people. I literally had another 8 people that I wanted to have on this list, and that's how important it is to have your dream team. I mean, we're still missing electrician, plumber, your investment real estate agent. There's a lot of other people you need, but this just gives you a good tool, and I would highly, highly recommend getting all these people's information cards, phone numbers, because when there's going to be a stickle where you get into a point where sticky point where your person's not available, so maybe you do have one of these already filled, but they're not always available. Somebody's out of town, somebody doesn't answer the phone, and these people will answer the phone and will take care of you. That's why I brought them in, and I appreciate you guys all so much. I've worked with each one of you guys multiple times, and some of you guys are lifelong friends. So thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. With that, we always like to do a quick conclusion. I know it's super late, and I I have a feeling that my choice of going to a Thursday night was not a good choice for most people. That's why normally you have a full room here. But if you do have a shout out that you want to give really quick, or a piece of property you got to sell, or anything that you want to yell out real quick, if you can make it quick, you can jump on the mic in the middle, and I'll give you guys all a chance. Okay.
Quit making fun of me. So shout out to Mike and Ted and Rochelle. Thank you so much for everything you do. Appreciate you guys. Oh, and Al. Al, I love you, Al.
But not you other guys.
I'll give a shout out to all of you guys, because I think that we've worked with all of you at one point or another, and I really appreciate you being here. I also want to say, Ted, I think one of the people you're missing on the panel is a coach. And for those of you who know me, I have a solution for you. The truth, though, is that if your real estate investing career, or really in any part of your life, isn't where you want it to be, it's not because of the tools and resources. There's thousands of tools and resources out there, but it's because of what's going on up here. Your desire or lack of desire to achieve your dreams, and your belief in yourself that you can. And so I teach a few classes. I promise I'm going to go fast. We have one of the classes is this Saturday. I know it's late notice, but it's called Live Your Dreams Workshop. And it's an excellent way to round out the year on a bang and start off next year ready to go. We also do not teach this, but my husband and I have been so impacted by the PSI seminars, or PSI seminars, basic life success class, that we actually are bringing it to Omaha October 21st, 22nd, 23rd. It's only $595, the best $600 you'll ever spend. It's very Tony Robbins-esque. The company has been around for 50 years, so it's the longest running self-development and life success company in the nation, and it's much more affordable than Tony Robbins. And then finally, for those of you, I'm really proud to say that a large percentage of you in this room are my students currently, or a past student of mine. Raise your hands. Thank you. If you haven't taken my class yet, my first class is really geared towards new or newer investors. So people that own about 10 properties or less, or none. And 80% of my students buy their first or next property within 3 months of my class. So I think that speaks volumes of it. The next class will start at the end of January, but if you reserve your spot by November 1st, you can lock in the price, because the price is going up on November 2nd. Thank you. It is currently $1,111.
All right, well, I'm in Jerry's class right now, and Jerry told me in one of our coaching sessions that in order for the world to give me what I want, I need to put it out in the world that I want it. So I'm letting the world know. Frog Renovations is doing so well that we need a space. So first and foremost, what I'm kind of looking for is something that we can purchase that obviously needs work, because that's what we do, and that's where the value is going to come out. So a commercial space, we would love to have a live work space. So if you've got anything in your inventory that you're looking to get rid of, that is just sitting around and you don't know what you're going to do with it, let me know. Interested in that. And then also 2 to 4 family, I'd love to do a house hack, as long as it's got a decent garage. We could operate out of that as well. So anything like that. So, and I'm working with Monica too. So she's my agent and amazing. And so just if you've got anything, or partnership, if you guys are looking to partner with a contractor, we are open to partnerships and working with you on that as well. So these are the things that we're looking to do. If anybody is out there interested, or you hear of anyone who's interested, please get a hold of us. We're very, very, very interested.
Hi, my name is Garrett Schmidt, and I want to first of all say that I'm here about to pitch this to you because Jerry has encouraged me to quit my job and go out on my own and do my own thing. So everything she's selling is working. So far, we haven't become homeless or any of those things yet, so things are okay. But I wanted to promote, so I've been building cabinets and furniture for about 12 years now, and I've been coming to the RIA for a little over a year now, and I've been really encouraged to find a product that would be economical from a cabinet perspective for this group of people. So I have developed a line of cabinetry that I know is going to be of great value to this group. Designed it with value in mind. It's going to be something that will check off all the boxes of a quality cabinet. Have soft closed doors and drawers and some things. It's going to be made out of 100% plywood, plywood and hardwood. No MDF. None of that cheap crap that is made with a bunch of glue and gets wet and it's going to bloom up and explode and all those things. So a quality cabinet that's going to be durable, UV coated on the inside for durability. So it's going to check off the boxes that's needed. It's not going to have a lot of extra frills because those are unneeded. They are customizable. You can paint them whatever color you'd like. You can have them in you can stain them. You can paint them yourself if you'd like to save a little bit of money. So and most importantly, designed and built in Omaha, Nebraska, so it's a local product. You need something, you have a part, you need to replace, it can be replaced. It's nothing that you're going to have to go search for somebody that you can't replace. So I think it's going to have high value for this group of people, and I just wanted to promote that. It's called Project Cabinet, and there is a flyer on each table here today. So if you have any questions, there's contact info there, so please give me a call. Thank you.
All right, guys, I have one quick question for you. I want to answer by a show of raise of hands. I have been tossing the idea of offering carpet cleaning around, and by a show of hands, who here would be interested in carpet cleaning services if I had offered them? 1, 2, okay. All right, sounds great.
Real quick, Ted, a brag for Garrett's work. He did the modification of the cabinet for the 30-inch oven. It was originally a single oven of a 24-inch, and he made it fit a double oven 30-inch, and it's freaking beautiful. The installer said, "Who built this? This fits like a glove." So, thank you, Garrett.
Awesome.